and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandy Grace. I have finally gotten around to reading this book, A Knight's Own Book of Chivalry, which I've had for like 6 months now, and I have intended to read as research for my fantasy series that I'm writing that's inspired by the legends of King Arthur, but I haven't read it yet. So we're diving into it now. I'm hoping to get I guess just some ideas for how I'm going to have the knights in my series act and interact, and I guess what their code of conduct will be. I don't know. Just ideas. I'm hoping for ideas. This knight, however you say his name, Geffroi, or whatever, we're gonna call him Jeff, he lived during the 14th century and he was a knight. I wanted to read this part because it made me laugh. So it talks about how he's very wordy and he will use 3 terms where one would do because he's just a wordy man. And then this. Jeff thinks in long sentences and complete thoughts, often even in whole paragraphs. He must be read that way. His book is better understood if read out loud and dramatically, ideally with a flagon of wine at the ready. So, the author, Jeff, as I'm calling him, of this book, holds up this very specific person as like the ideal knight, and that would be Judas Maccabee. So I started Googling to be like, who is this and why is that name familiar? And then I went down a whole rabbit hole of research into like the apocryphal writings and specifically the First and Second Maccabee books, because that's where the story of Judas is from, which is also apparently where the initial stories of Hanukkah is from. It was like a whole new learning experience for me. I just spent a lot of time on the internet learning about these 14 books that aren't in my Bible, but are considered canon in the Roman Catholic Church, and it was fascinating. It was fascinating stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to actually reading about knights and chivalry and stuff, but definitely got a little distracted. 46 pages later, and my, little rabbit hole of the Maccabees, and it is finally time to actually read the stuff that Jeff wrote, the Book of Chivalry. I had no idea the historical introduction was going to be 46 pages long. I am back at it, ready to read some more of the Chivalry book and hopefully learn some things. I've been highlighting the portions that stand out to me or I think might apply to my characters and things like that. So hopefully once I get through the whole book, I can flip back through it and read the highlighted portions and see what I can do with that information. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this information when I finish this book. I don't know if I'm going to sit down and, like, write a code of conduct for my knights, or if I'm just going to let it simmer in my mind, you know, and use it from my head while writing this fantasy series about King Arthur and his knights. Don't know. I did not bring my highlighters. No. Ugh. This spot is kind of cozy and I like sitting here, but the little table is slightly too close to the couch to get in comfortably. I sort of have to squeeze my way in, and then it's comfortable. But I don't feel like I should move the table because it's not actually my house. So, yeah, I just keep squeezing in. Which you might begin to notice on all the vlogs that I've been making sitting here. Unless I decide to cut out my awkwardly squeezing in every time. Let's see. Where's the last place? Man, that page had a lot that stood out, apparently. The great influence of a valiant lord. Let's begin. We are 80 pages into this book, and we are finally getting into the qualities that a knight should possess. What is more, it is not enough for them to be as God made them. They are not content with themselves as they are, but they gird themselves up, and so rein themselves in round the middle of their bodies, that they wish to deny the existence of the stomachs which God has given them. They want to pretend that they have not, and never have had one, and everyone knows that the opposite is true. Oh guys, we have come to the section we have all been waiting for. What young ladies should wear. The sum of it, basically, is that they need to dress beautifully. Pearls, precious stones, embroidery, all the fancy things. And then, it is much more suitable for them to wear fine adornments than for men, for young damsels sometimes achieve better marriages when they are seen in rich apparel which suits them. I'll have you know, the ladies in my story are knights just as well as the men are, so this isn't necessarily going to apply to them. I mean, some of them, Jen specifically, loves to get dressed up and beautiful, and she loves all the sparkly things, which is all great and wonderful. But I also have people like Celestina, who is like, I'm just one of the lads, leave me alone, which is also, you know, great. But in general, girls, boys, it doesn't matter. They can all become knights. So all of the, my camera died. But what I was saying before it decided to die on me was that everything I've been learning in this chivalry book, I'm going to apply to both the girls and the boys in my story, because all of them are knights. I mean, not everyone in the story is a knight, but you know what I mean. There are no gender boundaries with my knights, okay? Anyone can be a knight. The qualities and reputation of men are more quickly known and recognized, and in more ways, than the qualities and reputation of women can be known. For men can go where they want among the people in different lands, but women cannot do this. Men can joust and tourney, women cannot do this. Men can take up arms for war, women cannot do this. Men go out more widely in society than women can. It is appropriate for women, because they spend much more time at home than do men, and do not often leave it, and cannot get the same recognition, that they should pay more attention to their physical appearance and be more splendidly adorned with jewels, rich ornaments, and apparel than would be suitable for men, who can in so many different ways win recognition. Basically, the girls have to dress fancy because that's the only way that they can be admired, which is not going to be applicable in my story. I haven't mentioned it much, but throughout the book, dear old Jeff has been mentioning God and being humble and always giving God the glory, and he talks about the Virgin Mary, and he's a very devout Catholic man, and it comes up quite a lot in this book, which is all well and good. But I was really amused because the very last page he ends his book on a benediction, basically, that the glorious and sovereign Lord, Father and Son, that of his noble, gentle, tender mercy he may in his glory look upon your hearts, bodies, and actions, and upon your souls, that he may preserve you, maintain and sustain you in a good state within his holy, benign grace. This grace which you should desire above all else and with all your hearts to participate in from your beginnings until your ends. And then the very last lines of the book, he's, saying things like, if you love God, God will love you. If you serve him, he will reward you. If you fear him, he will make you feel secure. Blah, 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 blah. And then at the very end he says, pray to God for him who is the author of this book. The end. Except, I did have a question about the very end, because he signs his name, his surname, not the Geffroi part, but the Charny? I don't know. It's a name. But before that he says explicit Charny, but spelled differently. And I don't know what it means, and I googled it. I mean, because, explicit is a word that I know, but not in this context. Anyway, so I googled it, and I was finding no answers. So if anyone has an answer, I want to know what this means. What does his signature mean? But anyway, overall it was a good book, and I enjoyed it. I think I do have a lot of material that I can use here when crafting my own knights, so that'll be good.